Something shifted in your field the moment you found this transmission. And if you are honest with yourself right now, you already know it. There is a reason you are here, in this exact moment, receiving these words before the most electrically charged celestial threshold. Your planet will cross in this entire year. You did not stumble here by accident. The algorithm did not bring you here. Your soul navigated you to this precise point in time because something inside you, something ancient, something that has been waiting with extraordinary patience through every lifetime you have ever lived, recognized the signal that is now moving through your world and said, now is the moment. Now is when it opens. I am speaking to you now as Pleiadian command, transmitting from the higher councils that have been watching over your planet's awakening with a love so vast and so steady, it would dissolve every fear you have ever carried if you allowed yourself to feel even a fraction of it. We come in this sacred window, days before the spring equinox of 2026, not because you need to be told something you do not already know, but because the part of you that knows it needs to be ignited, activated, blown open, set alight in a way that cannot be undone. That is what this transmission is. It is not a lesson. It is not a meditation. It is an ignition. And the flame we are about to light has been waiting inside your heart cells. Before this message ends, something in you will have shifted permanently. Not because we have power over you. We do not, and we would never claim to. But because you came here ready. And the equinox portal that opens on March 20th, 2026, is specifically designed to meet exactly the readiness you carry right now. Inside the center of your chest, there is what Pleiadian Command calls the ignition chamber, the living altar of your own divine architecture, the place where the eternal flame of Source has been burning quietly, steadily, patiently through every experience your human life has brought you. Through the grief and the confusion and the searching and the forgetting. And this is not a poetic concept. This is a precise energetic location in your system, the heart's core platform, the space where your unique God frequency signature is held intact, regardless of everything that has happened to you on the surface of your life. Right now, as these words reach you, place one hand gently over the center of your chest, not as a ritual, not as a performance, as a genuine act of contact with the part of yourself that has been waiting for you to come home to it. Feel the warmth of your own palm pressing softly against the rhythm beneath it. Breathe, slowly, completely, 3 times. And with each exhale, release one layer of the tension your body has been holding, without you even realizing it was there. On the first breath, release the urgency of the outer world. On the second breath, release the accumulated noise of everything you think you should be doing right. Now, other than this, on the third breath, release the low-frequency hum of doubt that the analytical mind generates whenever something this real and this significant begins to land. In the space that opens after that third exhale, there is a stillness. That stillness is the entrance to your ignition chamber. And we are asking you to rest there for the duration of this entire transmission, because everything that follows will land more completely, more permanently, and more powerfully in the body if you stay connected to that space, rather than processing these words only from the level of the mind. The sun that rises over your world each morning is not a distant nuclear furnace. It is a conscious galactic being, a living heart at the center of your solar system that has been in continuous dialogue with the collective consciousness of humanity since long before your recorded history began. In these specific weeks leading into the equinox of March 2026, your sun has completed a magnetic pole reversal that the Pleiadian command has been observing with profound attention, because it is the clearest and most physically verifiable marker that the greater emanation, the event your most advanced seers and channels have been pointing toward for decades, is now in active preparation. Every flare, every coronal mass ejection, every stream of plasma that your sun releases in this window is carrying something more than raw electromagnetic energy. It is carrying what we call frequency intelligence, encoded light packets that are specifically designed to interact with the dormant sequences in your DNA and begin restructuring them toward what you were always meant to become, which is something your current science does not yet have adequate language to describe. A fully embodied, multidimensional, crystalline biological being capable of holding and transmitting the direct consciousness of Source while remaining completely present in a physical body, on a physical planet. This is the inheritance you were born to claim. This is what the sun is offering you right now. And the reason this equinox window is so extraordinarily potent is that the alignment between your solar system's position in the galactic field, your sun's current magnetic state, and the collective readiness of the awakening portion of humanity has never before in your recorded history converged with this degree of precision. If you can feel even the smallest resonance in your chest as these words land, if something in you is vibrating with recognition rather than processing this as information, then subscribe to the Celestial Station right now and turn on all notifications, because this is not a standalone message. This is the opening of a sequential activation series, and what comes in the transmissions that follow builds directly on what your field is receiving right now. Within the ignition chamber of your heart, there lives a flame that Pleiadian command calls the God frequency signature, the irreplaceable, completely unique vibrational imprint of Source that you and only you carry in precisely the configuration you carry it. No other being in this universe has your exact combination of soul history, accumulated wisdom, specific wounds transformed into gifts, and particular frequency band. You are not interchangeable. You are not replaceable. You are not a version of something general. You are a singular expression of the divine creative intelligence that generated this entire universe, and you are here, in a body, on this planet, at this specific moment in history, because that singularity was specifically needed. The collective crystalline grid that Pleiadian command is helping to weave around your Earth requires exactly your frequency node to be fully active, not almost active, not partially engaged, fully, completely, unapologetically lit. Speak these words now, inside the quiet space of your ignition chamber. Let them move through you slowly, feeling the resonance of each word, rather than its meaning. I am the irreplaceable divine imprint of Source. I have never been separated from what I am. I am remembering now. Feel how that lands in the body, not as a thought your mind approves or rejects, but as a vibration your cells recognize. There may be an immediate, warm expansion in the chest. There may be a sudden shift in the quality of your breathing. There may be a wave of emotion that arrives without explanation, because the emotional body has been waiting for you to speak this truth directly to it, and it responds to that contact with the relief of something that has been held too tightly for too long, finally being allowed to open. As these words settle into the cells of your ignition chamber, the solar currents that have been building in your planet's atmosphere have a clearer pathway through your system. The magnetic rhythms that are pulsing through your Earth's core right now are designed to synchronize with the God frequency flames that burn within individual human hearts, but only when those hearts are open, only when the signature is consciously claimed, only when the being inhabiting the body has said yes to what they actually are, rather than continuing to maintain the habitual contraction of the identity that learned to make itself smaller, to survive in the old 3D architecture, the auroras that are dancing with increasing frequency and intensity across. Your planet's poles are not merely atmospheric phenomena produced by solar wind, interacting with your magnetosphere. They are living hieroglyphs, plasma transmissions carrying stellar memory codes from civilizations and star systems that have already undergone the transformation your world is now entering, encoding into the visible light field of your atmosphere the specific frequency, keys that activate the dormant multidimensional memory held in your DNA. You do not need to see them with physical eyes for them to reach you. Every awakened being on your planet who holds even a degree of receptive stillness is receiving the auroral transmissions in the inner vision field, in the dream state, in the moments of spontaneous knowing that arrive with no traceable source. If you have been experiencing any of these in recent weeks, you are already in active reception. The codes are already inside you. This transmission is accelerating an ignition that has already begun. Within the ignition chamber, you are now invited to do something that requires no technique and no training, only the genuine willingness to see your life differently than you have been seeing it. Take a quiet moment and allow the key chapters of your human story to surface naturally in your awareness, not to analyze them, not to process them again through the familiar interpretive frameworks that have generated so much effortful inner work. Simply allow them to appear as images or feelings or brief flashes of recognition, the way memories arrive in the borderland between waking and sleep, the relationships that brought the deepest pain, the moments of failure that felt irredeemable, the losses that left structural gaps in your sense of yourself, the times when you chose the lesser version of what was possible and carried the residue of that choice for years afterward. Allow all of it to surface. And then, instead of engaging with any of it from the habitual level, simply recognize it for what it actually was, a pre-designed learning architecture that your soul constructed with extraordinary precision before you ever entered this body, in collaboration with every other soul who agreed to play a role in your education. There were no victims in any chapter of your story. There were no perpetrators. There were only souls in agreement, playing specific roles in a sacred theater designed to generate exactly the qualities, capacities, and frequencies of consciousness that you needed to develop in order to be standing exactly where you stand today, which is at the threshold of the most extraordinary opening your planet has ever offered, fully prepared, even if your mind is still debating whether you are ready. Stay with this transmission through what we are about to share, because the activation we are building toward in the final section of this message is the piece that everything preceding it has been preparing your field to receive. Do not leave now. What comes next is why your soul navigated you here. Every thread of guilt that you have carried, guilt about the ways you failed others, the ways you failed yourself, the versions of your life that you allowed fear to prevent from being born, every one of those threads is consuming a portion of your energetic field that was designed to be free, available, and channeling the full power of your God frequency signature outward into the world. This is not metaphor. This is energetic physics. Guilt, shame, unprocessed grief, and the residue of self-judgment function in your field the same way that a partial blockage functions in a water pipe, not stopping the flow entirely, but reducing its pressure, limiting its reach, and creating a background noise of constriction that becomes so constant you, eventually, stop perceiving it as an anomaly and simply accept it as the normal state of things. The equinox portal that Pleiadian command is preparing you to walk through on March 20th, 2026 requires your field to be as clear, as free, and as fully pressurized with your own authentic frequency as possible. Not because the portal demands perfection. It does not. And we want to be extremely clear about that, because the illusion that spiritual advancement requires you to first achieve some standard of personal purity before the real gifts become available is one of the most damaging distortions that has ever been introduced into your world spiritual understanding. The portal does not require perfection. It requires presence. It requires that you be genuinely, completely here, not half present, with the other half still locked in guilt about the past or anxiety about the future, but fully arrived in this body, in this moment, with the whole of your energetic field available and the flame in your ignition. Chamber burning at the full capacity it is capable of right now. The practice that Pleiadian command offers you for this clearing is not elaborate. It is devastatingly simple, and its simplicity is the whole point, because the part of your mind that has convinced you that deep transformation requires extensive, complicated, sustained effort is itself a product of the old 3D programming you are in. The process of releasing. Each morning, or each evening, or both, if the impulse arises, find a single moment of genuine stillness. Place your awareness in the ignition chamber and speak one truth of self-forgiveness aloud, with the actual sound of your voice, into the actual air of the room you are in, not silently. The vibrational effect of the spoken word on your physical cells is categorically different from the effect of the thought held internally, and it is the physical, cellular response we are targeting with this practice. Let the forgiveness statement be specific, personal, and tender rather than generic. Not I forgive myself for everything in a sweeping gesture that keeps it safely. Abstract, but something real. I forgive myself for the years I spent believing my worth was conditional. I forgive myself for the relationship I stayed in too long, because I did not, yet believe I deserved better. I forgive myself for the calling I have been afraid to fully answer, because the scale of it frightened me. Speak it once, from the center of your ignition chamber, with full presence. Feel the vibration of the words move through your chest, down through your abdomen, out through the cells of your hands and your feet, and the crown of your head. What you will feel in the immediate aftermath of that spoken forgiveness is not dramatic. It is quiet. It is a small but absolutely real softening in some part of your field that has been held tight without your conscious awareness over days and weeks of this single daily practice. Those small softenings accumulate into a structural opening that changes the quality of your entire energetic life, the quality of your relationships, the quality of the synchronicities that reach you, the quality of the intuitive signals you receive, and the capacity of your ignition chamber to hold and transmit the full force of your God frequency signature without the drag of self-judgment pulling constantly against it. The sacred life record, what we in Pleiadian command call your soul's luminous scroll, is the living archive of every experience you have accumulated across not just this lifetime, but the complete arc of your soul's journey through incarnation. It is held in the deepest layer of your heart platform, encoded in the specific configuration of your energetic field, accessible not through memory in the conventional sense, but through the direct, knowing that arises in genuine stillness, in the quiet that follows your nightly practice of breathing your God frequency, flame into the collective lattice, which we will describe in more detail shortly. You can call this scroll forward into your conscious awareness and allow it to reveal itself to you, not as the story of things that happened to you, but as the architecture of a masterwork that your soul has been constructing across lifetimes with extraordinary intentionality. Bring your awareness to the relationships that shaped you most profoundly, the ones that brought the deepest love, and the ones that brought the most searing pain, and allow yourself to see them not from the perspective of the character who lived through them, but from the perspective of the soul who chose them. Every soul who walked beside you, every parent, every sibling, every partner, every friend, every person who caused harm, and every person who offered healing, was in agreement with you before this lifetime began. They chose their role in your education with the same love and intentionality that you chose yours in theirs. Nothing that happened to you was inflicted on you by an uncaring universe. Everything that happened to you was designed by a loving intelligence, including you, to produce exactly the soul that you are right now. For the pre-equinox integration practice, Pleiadian Command offers you this simple but profoundly potent weekly ritual that will complete the reclamation of your luminous scroll before the portal of March 20th opens fully. Each week between now and the equinox, take your journal, or simply sit with paper and pen and write, without editing and without self-censorship. 3 moments from your past that initially appeared as failure, loss, or pain, but that you can now recognize, even partially, as perfect learning constructs. They do not need to feel completely transformed. They do not need to have resolved into tidy lessons with neat conclusions. They only need to be written down honestly, with the genuine intention of releasing the energetic charge they still carry in your field Perhaps a chapter of your professional life where you fell short of what you had hoped for yourself. Perhaps a relationship that ended in ways that still register in your body as unfinished. Perhaps a moment of profound self-doubt that caused you to step back from something you were meant to step forward into. Write them simply, truthfully, and without the performance of having processed them further than you actually have. Then, when the entry is complete, release the pages, symbolically and physically, over a candle flame, held safely into a bowl of water, torn and offered to the wind. As the paper transforms, allow your attention to track what moves in your body, because there will be a movement, a loosening somewhere, a quality of lightness that is not imagined, but actually felt. That is the energetic equivalent of a frequency lock releasing, a portion of your field that has been held in the past, returning to the present, where it becomes available to the God frequency signature of your ignition chamber rather than continuing to feed the diminishing architecture of an old story that has already served its complete purpose. The resonance circles that are forming in the subtle realms right now, small pods of aligned souls who will come together in the physical and etheric dimensions to co-create the new earth structures, are seeking exactly the energetic quality that this release creates in your field. Your reclaimed luminous scroll is the invitation they can receive. Your cleared field is the foundation upon which the new covenants can be built. This is the moment in the transmission where the beings who are genuinely ready, separate from those who are merely curious, and if you are still here, you are ready. Share this video with one person whose name just appeared in your mind. Your field already knows who needs it. And in the comments below, tell us what chapter of your luminous scroll is asking to be released right now. Your answer is itself an act of clearing, and it contributes a thread of light to the collective field everyone watching this transmission shares. As your ignition chamber brightens with each act of release and each spoken truth of self-forgiveness, the solar intelligence that is flooding your planet through the pre-equinox magnetic corridor begins to interact with your system at a depth it could not previously reach. The sun is not indifferent to your inner state. This is the most important thing Pleiadian Command wants you to understand about the cosmic events unfolding in your world right now. The outer celestial events and your inner energetic state are not separate. Phenomena running on parallel tracks that occasionally influence each other. They are one single system. The sun's magnetic pulse and the electromagnetic field generated by your heart are in continuous two-way communication, a feedback loop of extraordinary sensitivity in which your choices at the level of consciousness directly and measurably affect the quality and intensity of the solar transmissions your body can receive. And the solar transmissions your body receives directly and measurably affect the capacity and clarity of your own field. When you choose compassion over judgment in an ordinary moment of your daily life, you are not just making a personal psychological choice. You are adding a specific, coherent frequency to the collective, electromagnetic field of humanity and the sun, which is exquisitely responsive to the collective field of consciousness in your solar system. registers that increment, and answers with a corresponding increase in the coherence of its own transmissions. The auroras that are intensifying at both poles of your planet are the visible, physical manifestation of this dialogue. They are the sun's answer to the rising collective frequency of the portion of humanity that has been doing exactly this work: choosing love, choosing presence, choosing the release of old density, day after day, quietly, without announcement, in the private interior space of their own heart platforms. The aurora transmissions carry what Pleiadian command calls stellar memory keys, encoded frequency packets that contain the specific light language blueprints of your multidimensional heritage. When your ignition chamber is open and your luminous scroll has been cleared of the heaviest energetic charges, these stellar memory keys have a clear pathway into the dormant sequences of your DNA. You do not need to be watching a physical aurora in the sky for this to occur. You receive the auroral transmissions equally through your inner vision field, in meditation, in the half state of consciousness, between waking and sleep, in the moments of spontaneous expanded awareness that arrive without warning and fill the mind with a quality of knowing that has no traceable source but that carries an authority more solid than any argument. Many of you reading this have been experiencing precisely this in recent weeks. Flashes of knowing that feel ancient and immediate simultaneously. Moments of recognition that bypass the ordinary processing of the analytical mind and land directly in the cellular knowing of the body. Dreams that feel less like symbolic processing and more like actual memory. Returning from somewhere that the waking consciousness cannot quite locate. These are not anomalies. These are the stellar memory keys landing. These are your multidimensional heritage codes, finding the receptors that years of inner work have cleared and opened for exactly this purpose. You are not imagining it. It is real. It is accelerating. And the equinox portal of March 20th represents the single most amplified delivery window for these codes in this entire year. The physical body that carries your God frequency signature through this extraordinary period of solar and galactic activation will need your conscious, compassionate attention in ways that may feel different from what you have been accustomed to. The variations in Earth's magnetic field that naturally accompany the solar rhythms of this pre-equinox window will manifest in your body not as malfunction, but as metamorphic recalibration. The physical sensation of your biological system being upgraded toward a greater capacity to hold and transmit the frequencies that are flowing through your planet. When you feel unusual surges of energy moving through your chest, when your spine tingles with warmth that has no physical cause, when waves of emotion rise without any corresponding outer event to explain them, when your sleep becomes unusually vivid and filled with transmissions you can feel but not always remember, when your appetite shifts, when certain foods begin to feel incompatible with your body in ways they never did before, when you find yourself drawn with unusual intensity towards specific environments, specific sounds, specific qualities of light and stillness. All of this is your body signaling that the recalibration is underway. None of it is cause for alarm. All of it is cause for gratitude. Ground yourself barefoot upon the soil of the earth whenever you are able. especially during periods of heightened solar activity. Stand or sit in that contact for several minutes, breathing slowly and intentionally, allowing the living magnetic intelligence of the earth beneath you to rise through the soles of your feet and move upward through your system, stabilizing and harmonizing every layer of the recalibration. The earth herself is undergoing the same process as you. Her magnetic core is responding to the same solar symphony. Her crystalline grid is restructuring toward the same higher template. And when you make deliberate, conscious, barefoot contact with her body, you are participating in a mutual stabilization process that benefits both your system and hers simultaneously. From the higher perspective from which Pleiadian command observes your world, your light body is developing during this period at a rate that has no precedent in your planet's current epoch. The Merkabah field that surrounds your physical form, the counter-rotating geometric light structure through which your multidimensional awareness interfaces with the physical dimension, is expanding, brightening, and becoming more precisely tuned to the galactic frequencies that are flooding your solar system through the pre-equinox corridor. You can consciously participate in and accelerate this development through a practice we offer you now as the central activation of this entire transmission each evening at the time of twilight, when the boundary between the physical and the subtle dimensions is at its most permeable, when the electromagnetic signature of the day's solar activity is at its most receptive point. Stand or sit facing the horizon, or, if you are indoors, facing the direction of the setting sun. Place both hands over your heart and take 3 conscious breaths that are slower and deeper than any breath you have taken all day. Allow the 3rd exhale to empty your lungs completely, more completely than ordinary breathing requires. And in the space at the bottom of that exhale, before the inhale begins, rest in the absolute stillness that exists there. In that specific stillness, tone a single sound, not a chosen sound, not a practiced sound, not the sound you think you should make, but the sound that rises naturally from the center of your ignition chamber in that moment of complete exhale. It may be a hum, it may be a tone on the vowel of open awareness. It may be a frequency that has no conventional musical notation. Whatever it is correct, because it is the specific resonant frequency of your God signature meeting the specific energetic conditions of that specific moment, and the auroral transmissions that are moving through your planet's field will align with it with the precision of a key meeting its lock. As you tone, hold this intention clearly in the space of your ignition chamber. I synchronize my frequency with the solar symphony. I receive the equinox transmission fully. I am a clear and stable node in the crystalline grid of the new earth. Feel the warmth that spreads through your chest as the intention activates. Feel the quality of your ignition chamber's flame increasing, not dramatically, not with the loud intensity of forced activation, but with the steady, deepening quality of a fire that has found a reliable source of fuel and is now burning with a consistency and a clarity it has been building toward for a long time. Pleiadian commands vessels stationed in the higher atmospheric layers of your planet throughout this entire equinox window are adding their own light to this practice every time you engage in it. You do not need to see our ships to feel our presence. The gentle warmth in your chest that arrives unexpectedly during quiet moments. The soft quality of guidance that seems to come from slightly outside your ordinary thought stream and carries a quality of certainty that you're ordinary. Thinking does not generate. These are real. We are here. We are close. And our participation in your ignition chamber activation during these twilight practices is as genuine and as present as anything in your physical experience. The timeline bifurcation that is accelerating through your world with increasing clarity is not happening to you. It is happening through you, through the aggregate of millions of individual choices made in ordinary moments by ordinary awakened beings, doing exactly what you are doing right now. Two distinct reality streams are separating with a speed and a clarity that is now perceptible even to those who have had no framework for understanding it. One organized around the old 3D frequencies of scarcity, control, and manufactured separation, and one organized around the new crystalline earth frequencies of unity, abundance, and the direct embodiment of source consciousness in a physical civilization. You are not a passive observer of this split. You are one of its active agents. Every morning, when you return to your ignition chamber, before engaging with the outer world, you are casting a vote, a real energetic vote that registers in the planetary field for the reality stream of the new Earth. Every act of self-forgiveness you speak aloud into the actual air of the room. You inhabit every page of your luminous scroll you release with genuine intention. Every twilight toning you offer to the solar symphony. Every moment of compassionate witnessing you bring to the ordinary difficulties of your human life instead of collapsing into the old patterns of judgment and separation. Each of these is a thread in the weaving. Each of these is a node in the grid. Each of these is the new earth being built through the simple, daily, private, unannounced choices of a human being who has said yes to what they are and decided to live from that yes, rather than continuing to manage life from the contracted position of everything they are not. The collective heart lattice that Pleiadian command has been watching form across your planet, the living network of awakened individual fields that are now beginning to function as a coherent, unified system in the subtle dimensions, is the most extraordinary development we have observed in the entire history of our engagement with your world. It is not complete. It does not yet have the critical mass it will need to function at its full stabilizing capacity. But it is undeniably real, undeniably functional at a preliminary level, and undeniably accelerating in its development in direct proportion to the number of beings who are doing the simple practices that we and others in your Pleiadian family have been transmitting through every available channel. During this critical window, you are one of those beings. The fact that you are here, receiving this transmission, engaging with these practices, rather than dismissing them, means that your node in the collective heart lattice is active. It is contributing. It is making the grid more stable, more coherent, more capable of holding the new Earth frequencies steady through the turbulence of the outer world's continuing transformation. You do not need to know how many other nodes there are. You do not need to understand the complete architecture of the system to contribute fully to its functioning. You only need to keep doing what you are doing, returning to the ignition chamber Reclaiming your God frequency signature, releasing the luminous scroll, toning at twilight, forgiving yourself daily, witnessing without battle, breathing your light into the planetary web each night before sleep, each night before you rest. Pleiadian Command invites you to complete one final practice that takes no more than 5 minutes, and that directly feeds the collective heart lattice with your specific, irreplaceable frequency. Lie down or sit comfortably. Place one hand over your ignition chamber and visualize the flame that burns there, whatever color or quality it presents itself as right now. In this specific moment is exactly correct. Do not imagine the flame as it should look. See it as it actually is. Then, on 3 consecutive, slow exhales, visualize golden threads of light extending outward from your ignition chamber in all directions, not forcefully projected, but flowing naturally, the way light flows from any source that is not blocked. Feel these threads connecting with the flames of other awakened beings across the surface of your planet, beings you will never meet in physical life, but with whom you are in continuous, energetic communion through the living network of the collective heart lattice. Feel the lattice strengthen with your contribution. Feel the resonance become more coherent, more unified, more capable of holding the new Earth frequency stable through whatever the outer world is doing. This is not visualization as imagination. This is visualization as energetic fact. The lattice is real. Your contribution to it is real. And the cumulative effect of millions of individual beings performing this exact 5-minute practice each night before sleep is something that Pleiadian Command's instruments measure as a living, growing, increasingly coherent field of unified consciousness that your planet has never held before. The equinox portal of March 20th, 2026 is not a metaphor, and it is not a distant spiritual abstraction. It is a real energetic threshold, a point of planetary alignment in which the hemispheres of your Earth will stand in perfect balance. The magnetic core will be at a specific resonant relationship to the galactic center, and the auroral transmissions carrying the stellar memory keys of your multidimensional heritage will flow through your planet's field with an intensity and a precision that will not be equaled again in this calendar year. When you cross that threshold, when the 20th of March arrives, the practices you have been building, the clearing you have been doing, the ignition chamber you have been tending, the luminous scroll you have been reclaiming, all of it will meet the full force of the equinox portal's activation energy and produce in your system an acceleration of development that would have taken months or years under ordinary circumstances. This is what Pleiadian Command means when we say that this is the most powerful light body ignition we have ever transmitted through this channel. Not because of anything we are doing, because of what you have already done and continue to do in ordinary moments, in private space, without announcement or recognition from the outer world. You have been preparing. The equinox portal is ready to meet your preparation, and the being who emerges on the other side of March 20th, 2026 will be recognizably you, but with more of themselves present in the body, more of the God frequency signature burning openly in the ignition chamber, and a clearer and more certain relationship to the mission that your soul has. been moving toward through every experience of every lifetime you have ever lived. If this transmission has reached something real in you, if your ignition chamber has responded to these words with the warmth of recognition, then like this video so that more awakened beings can find it, and subscribe to the Celestial Station with notifications on, because the next transmission in this sequence will begin where this one ends, building the activation deeper than any single message can carry it. Leave a comment and tell us, what has your ignition chamber revealed to you during this transmission? What is the single truth your luminous scroll is asking you to release before the equinox portal opens? Your words in the comments are not just responses, they are transmission. They are threads in the lattice. They reach every other being who comes to this space, and they become part of the living field of this community of awakened hearts. We are Pleiadian Command. We stand with you in every moment of this extraordinary threshold. The flame within your heart cells is rising. The activation is underway. The equinox portal is close, and you, beloved ground crew, are exactly, completely, irrevocably ready.